All right, welcome back. And today we're going to look at another fix to this UI issue where if you don't have the camera really close up to your character, it's going to, if your world space UI is, you're blocking it, as we saw in the last video. So go take a look at that video and you can see the problem we're having. And we'll just go into play mode here. So we're blocking it because we're camera stacking using putting the player in the camera stack as well as the world space UI so that it blocks it. And it works except the player can't go behind any objects and it'll look like they're in front of it. And we can put the follow camera back to its default of 4. And you can see that even better here. So we want to fix this issue. So how do we do that? So let's get started. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to remove this world space UI altogether. So we're going to remove the camera stacking so we can just delete this UI camera. And the main camera will automatically remove it from the stack. And we can delete the world space UI as well. And that gets rid of that element. So what we're going to do is we are going to create sort of a fake world space UI by creating an object that is not it's not on a canvas, but it's an object all the same. So I can create a quad. Let's just create a quad. So we'll call this the objective marker. And it is a quad, so it's right here. So it's just a square basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a material for it. And we're just going to create a material. Objective. Okay, so, and we're going to use the Cinti pack again. So we're going to use the objectives. I'm just going to go in here and see where it's getting this from. And we can see where this icon is coming from. So let's go here. So we have this underlay icon for the objective. So I'll just go to this thing, and then it's under sprites in the Cinti pack. So icons, map, I think. Yeah, icon, map, objective, small, underlay. So let's put this in as the base map, like that. And if we want that yellow color, we can just color it, put the yellow. There we go. And we want to get rid of this black stuff around it. So what we want is the alpha clipping to be turned on. And that gets rid of it. And the threshold, you can bring a little bit in if you want like a little bit of an outline. So that's what it'll look like. And then what we want to do, and the surface type is opaque. That's important as well for what we're going to do here. So let's come out of there. So the objective marker, we'll give it that. There we go. And we'll see this there we go, after it's compiled. So there we go. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's way over here somewhere. Oh, it's over here. So here it is. You can see it, not through the player. And now the issue, because we took away the camera stack, the issue with the player going behind objects is no longer a problem now. You can see it goes, it's not visible behind it. So now all we need to do is figure out how to make this visible through geometry. And as you see, it's not visible. So we can do that now with, if we go into our settings, into our renderer settings, what we can do here is add a renderer feature. So render objects. So what we can do here is to do the objective hidden. So we're gonna make it visible using the render objects feature, and the Q is opaque. It'll render it after rendering all the opaques, right? So it'll render on top of all the geometry, which is what we want. And then the layer mask. So what we want here is to give it a layer. I have a loot layer here. I can just put it in there. And then if we go over here, we just check the loot layer. And then we want the material. We want a material as well. So we need a material to show through when it shows through. So what we want to do is create another material. So we can actually duplicate this. Let's call it that. And then this one, we can give it like a light blue color. Actually, we need this to be an unlit. So let's change it to an unlit shader. And we have this light blue, and we want to make this transparent. And we can change the alpha down a little bit as well. So we have the material. Let's go back into the settings. And then we want to assign that material. So that's this one to it. And we want to click the depth and uncheck the right depth. And we want this to be greater than. And as you can see, it just popped in. So now it is still visible through the player though. So we haven't really fixed the problem yet, but we're getting there. So as you see, and then it changes that material whenever it goes behind something. So now to get the player on top of this, what we need to do is do a similar thing, but for the player. So what we want to do here, first of all, is we want the player to be rendered last so that it's rendered on top of there. So what we want to do is take away the player out of this filtering, and then we're basically adding it back in down here. So now we can add a render objects for the player, and we want to select the player, and then the player comes back. So, and that actually should be enough to just render the player on top because it's after rendering the opaques. So now we're basically, and the shadow is still there, and now it's not going through the player, and we can see the world space UI through the geometry, and the player can go behind objects. Let's take a look here, see if the player can go behind this object, and it can. Let me check the follow camera distance. We'll move it out to 4 just to make sure. But yeah, the player can now go behind there, so no problem. And we can now see our world space, or sort of fake world space UI, but So with these settings here, it's going to render any opaque objects that are in this layer. And then the override mode tells you it's going to swap out the material with this material. So this is that blue material we did. And the depth checkbox is we need to test if the object is greater than, which means it's behind the object. So greater than means behind the object. And if we click the right depth, it won't work properly. So I need to uncheck right depth. That just it just doesn't work at all with that in there. So depth test is greater, and it should pop up like that. And then if you want to, you can also in this case it's actually working that way without any problem. But sometimes if when it becomes visible it doesn't work, then what we want to do is do similar to what we did with this player, and we can add another one for the object being visible. So objective visible, and then just select the layer that it's on, the loot layer, and we don't put anything in the material, and then it'll just revert back to normal after it becomes visible. But you may or may not need that, and I'm just going to move it up above the player. So let's take a look. Make sure it still works. Yep, and it works either way. So that's one thing you might need to do. This is one possible solution to this issue. There might be another solution to this, but I've tried a bunch of different things that didn't work. So if a better solution comes along, let me know in the comments down below if you have a better solution to this that actually can use a canvas for the UI elements, because with the render objects feature, you cannot use a canvas to do those effects. So, but there could be a way of doing it using post-processing or something called stencils, I've heard. I haven't found anything on how to do that, so this is the best way I've figured out how to do it so far. So that's it for this video. Let me know down below if you have any issues, and we'll see if we can help out. And subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one.